Mauye. Maunya lesi Yahweh. Yahweh na otia. Abe nous saint oh. Oh yes. On entend des cris à Rama, des lamentations, des larmes amères. Rachel pleure ses enfants et elle refuse d'être consolée, car ils ne sont plus. Ainsi par l'Éternel, retiens tes larmes, retiens tes pleurs, car il y a un salaire à eux. Ils reviendront du pays de l'ennemi. Il y a de l'espérance pour ton avenir. Moi, je refuse de pleurer, de gémir. Alléluia. Yema Ranuo, Yema Fakonyo, Abenuke, Olenkobe, Bona, Yema Fanvio, Yema Fakonyo, Abenuke, Nuke Kenyo. Yema Ganuo, Yema Ganuo, Yema Fakonyo, Abenuke, Nuke Kenyo, Oda Migado, Bereganuo. Hallelujah, you okay? Ayo le nukom na wo. No bi yama ga khadwo. Na ka favio. Ala banka kanyo bona. Nya nyama ga khadwo. Nya nyama ga favio. Yema Ganuo, Yema Ganuo, Yema Ganuo, Abenuke, Yema Ganuo, Yema Ganuo, Yema Ganuo, Abenuke.
Before they go see me, I go run. Challenge to see me, I go run. But failure see me, I go baba down. Cause I'm a beauty baba. Sickness go see me, I go run. Verbal side when I see my face so. Actor when I know my face so. Cause I'm a beauty baba. I'm a brand new man, I am a king. I'm born again, never the same. Holy one, yes, you never change. Your words are everlasting. Holy go fire, fire. I salute you, ancients of day. You never let me down one day. I'm enjoying my heritage. Before they go see me, I go run. Challenge to see me, I go run. But failure see me, I go baba down. Cause I'm a beauty baba. Sickness go see me, I go run. Verbal side when I see my face so. Actor when I know my place so. Cause I'm a beauty baba. I'm from above and not beneath. I'm a victor, I never lose so. Take a very good look at me. I'm walking with on every day. I see my blessings falling. Change my morning to dancing. I'm changing my level. You will never see me to struggle. Before they go see me, I go run. Challenge to see me, you go wrong. But failure see me, you go baba. Cause I'm a beauty baba. Sickness go see me, you go wrong. Verbal side when I see my best soul. Actor when I know my best soul. Cause I'm a beauty baba. Holy Ghost fire. Holy Ghost fire. Holy Ghost fire. Holy Ghost fire. Counting my blessings. Never move from behind. Holy Ghost fire. You don't.
Lord, you are the most. Hallowed be thy name. Lord, you are the most. Hallowed be thy name. Lord, you are the most. Hallowed be thy name. Lord, you are the most. Hallowed be thy name.
You tell me, say me kind of that everything's gonna be okay. You are the father to the fatherless, the miracle working God. You make the blind man to see. You made the crippled man to walk.
We want to say good day and welcome. This is Family Connection Network.
You make impossible
Program that comes to you every Sunday about this time, 6 p.m. on the East Coast. And as always, I got my colleague with me, Ben, who is way there in California. And our other colleague, Levi Titles Daniel, is away behind the scene doing some adjustment. And we have a very special guest tonight, a 33-year veteran in the education sector, been working with Department of Education, New York City. We'll be introducing him very shortly. Well, I want to say, Ben, welcome. And how you doing?
Great, Solo. Thank you. And it's always a pleasure and honor to be on this platform together with you and our other colleague, Levi, who is behind the scene. Today is another day that the Lord has made. And all we need to do as children of God is to rejoice in it and be glad. Because He alone is able to take us from one day to another. So it's a blessing that we can see each other today. And I look forward to having a great time of discussion with our guests for the day, who will shortly be introduced, as you rightly stated. I'm doing fine in California, and I hope you are also doing fine in New York. Back to you there, Solo.
Absolutely. We're doing fine in the cold. Why are you enjoying your weather in California? But anyway, that's another discussion for another time.
It's neither cold
Tonight
nor
we have
hot in California, just to let you know.
Dr. Komi Agoda. We want to say that. We want to say welcome and thank you for taking up your time to honor our invitation.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I know you are a 33-year veteran in the educational sector. We want to be diving into that tonight. You are an immigrant. How did you leave Africa, came to the U.S., and became an instructor, a teacher, both in high school and in college? Sometimes people say African have accent. How were you able to transcend to get to the classroom, to be able to communicate and be able to teach in this country? But we just want to give you the opportunity to tell us who Dr. Agoda is. Who is Dr. Komi Agoda?
Thank you for the introduction, and I'm humbled to have this opportunity to talk to you guys. And I am a 33-year veteran for New York City Department of Education, having taught from 1989 to present. I started first and foremost in the junior high school in Brooklyn, junior high school 57 in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Now, take 2 steps back. I came here first in 1985 through the YMCA of Greater New York, a program known as the International Camp Counselors Program. They recruited counselors from around the world to come and work in the day camps in the United States. I happened to be chosen and selected by Staten Island YMCA, which selected me to come to Camp Pouch in '85. So when I came in '85, at the time I was in college in Togo. And when I came in '85, spent the summer in Camp Pouch with the YMCA. At the end of the summer program, we went back in in September. In '86, I was reinvited because they felt I did a pretty good job. So I was invited for the second time. I came to the same camp under the auspices of the YMCA. And after the summer was over, I was home one evening and I got a call from my uncle in Togo that I was invited to go teach in Gabon, which is another African country where French is the official language. So I was given a contract to teach in Gabon for 2 years. So I left in '86, September, went to Togo and went to Gabon to teach. While teaching in Gabon, I still came back in '87, in '88 for the same program I had previously participated in. So after '88, the YMCA had extended my visa for another 18 months to train other counselors around the country because they felt I'd done a good job. So they wanted me to serve as a model counselor, training counselors in other YMCAs across the United States. So I had the chance to travel extensively from New York City through Pennsylvania to the whole East Coast, all the way to Florida, in Tallahassee, Miami, name it. Visit all the YMCAs over there, spend time talking to other counselors, teaching them cultural affairs about African culture, African experiences, and all that stuff. And while doing that, I was supposed to go back to Gabon to teach because this is the summer of '88. And so they had given me the 18-month extension for my visa, or not extension, I should say, a visa for 18 months, a year and a half, to do this work on the H1. So I told them I had to leave and go back to my teaching assignment. This is just entertainment, if not to use a model term. So they said, well, I shouldn't say they, Fran said, but we need you to do this work for us for the next year and a half. And we're in October, and I'm like, this is not what I'm cut out to do. I'm a teacher in the classroom. I have to go back. Fran said, well, if you want to teach, we need teachers in New York City, so we can have you teach and do this at the same time. So I said, well, if that's what you suggest. So they had an appointment for me to go to the, at the time, Board of Education of New York City. I went there for an interview. I remember the date, May 25th, 1989. And September, I was in the classroom teaching. I was interviewed, had to go take my NTE's National Teachers Examination certification, took all the exams. There were 3 pass-through exams. Took the exams, passed them. In September, I was interviewed for a job as a French teacher in the junior high school. That was my first interview I went to in District 16 in Brooklyn. And there were 3 of us. A gentleman from France who was at the time a little bit older than I was, because he seemed like in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. And I was just beginning. I was 26 years old at the time, if I may say so. And we interviewed the 3 of us. This other lady was from the islands, and he was from France. And after the interview, we were sitting in the teacher's lounge, and an hour later, they came back and invited the lady, whatever they told her, I don't know. And she left, and she said, good luck to us. And the gentleman was next. They told him, whatever they told him, he also left. And I was the last person. They called me and they said, congratulations, you are our new French teacher. And so from '89, I took the job in the junior high school, taught there for 3 years. And after 3 years, I swore I was going to quit teaching because it was the baptism from hell. It was, not to say the least, an experience I never imagined.
Dr. Agoda, I know you want to proceed. Can you give us that experience? What was it like teaching in Africa and teaching for the first time in a Western world in a classroom? Tell us, what was that baptism like?
That baptism was extremely, to say the least, very, very difficult. The strongest of people would give up in 1 week. You cannot teach in a junior high school. When I say junior high school, grade 7 to 9, this is not high school, it's not intermediate school. It's between the two levels. And we're talking about where the hormones of kids is beyond imagination. And you're supposed to teach students a foreign language. They don't even speak English properly. So let's forget about that. So to teach them French, it's like, I don't know, trying to be a dentist and pulling out teeth on healthy people. You without any Novocaine or any anesthesia. It's horrible. But the experience in itself, it's not the problem. It's the kids that you have to deal with. So I almost quit. I almost gave up. My principal at the time told me, Mr. Norris, I remember him so well, said, Mr. Agoda, do not give up teaching because you are a good teacher. Maybe junior high school may not be the place for you. Why not try high school and see what it feels like? The summer of 1991, I was home. I got a call from some high school in the Bronx. This is James Monroe High School. Can we speak to Mr. Agoda? I said, speaking. I said, well, we're looking for a French teacher. We got your information from the Board of Education. Do you mind coming for an interview? Let's see if you'll be interested in teaching in our school. I said, sure, why not? And I didn't even know where the Bronx was. I lived on Staten Island all my life. Up to that point, I lived and worked on Staten Island. So I go to Manhattan a couple of times, come back, didn't know where the Bronx was. So I took the bus, took the ferry, took the train, 2 hours one way from downtown Bowling Green all the way to Elder Street in the Bronx. Interviewed for the job, and they told me, we want to hire you as a French teacher. I said, so go ahead and go fill the paperwork with the secretary on the payroll office in the school. Walking down to the payroll's office, the principal, the assistant principal at the time who hired me said, can you do me a favor? I said, sure, why not? Do you mind if we ask you to teach 1 or 2 English classes and 3 French classes? We're looking for somebody to do ESL for us. I said, I don't mind. I could do that. So he says, why are you responding so fast like that? I mean, this is not easy. I said, I am first and foremost an English teacher. I teach French just because it happens to be my first language. But I am an English teacher. I have a master's degree in linguistics. He said, you got to be kidding me. I said, I kid you not. So he said, okay, then let's do this. You're going to teach 3 English classes and 2 French classes. So they revised the stuff right at the time I'm doing the paperwork. I said, no problem. We'll take care of that. And so from being hired to be a French teacher, I was hired to be an English teacher right on the spot and had to do both at the same time. So started teaching in James Monroe High School in 91 and taught there for 2 years doing the English and the French at the same time. While teaching, my AP said, can you do me a favor? I'm going to bring a couple of teachers to come see you in the classroom and just allow them to sit in your classroom and just watch you. I said, why is that? He said, well, I like what you're doing. So for some strange reason, I didn't even know what I was doing, but he found that I was doing so well, and I became a model for the other teachers to come observe.
Okay, Dr. Agoda, I know we'll come there. I know you also a mentor that also mentor other teachers that have been teaching the ELS classes and what have you. But I want to understand something. I don't know what a Togo is. It Togo francophone or anglophone country? Because that's
It's
confused me. Because you're telling us you got a degree in English.
yes,
Was it from Togo or from the U.S.?
from
What kind of
Togo.
country is Togo? Is it
To-
francophone or anglophone? Are they both?
no, Togo is purely francophone. As a matter of fact, in Togo, the besides French, the other language which is very popular over there is German. So it's not anglophone. I did my um, graduate studies in Togo, 1 year master's studies program in linguistics in Togo after a degree in French. Now, I happened to do 1 year abroad in Ghana, which was at the University of Cape Coast, year abroad. Now, Togo has a partnership with the Ghanaian universities. They bring their students to come and learn French in Togo, and Togo sends its students learning English to some of the Ghanaian universities, whether it's Cape Coast, University of Ghana in Legon, or University of Technology in Kumasi. So we interact back and forth in that kind of capacity, cultural affairs, sports, and all that stuff. So yes, I got my master's degree in linguistics in English from Togo. And I would say this, the teachers may not be fluent in terms of speaking the language fluently, but they teach you the theory and the grammar and the structure, name it, and it applied linguistics, the structure of English language, which is syntax and semantics. So, long story short, with that experience, when I came here teaching in the Bronx, I started taking courses to get my teaching degree in English as a second language. It took me, and I would say this, 1 year from September of 1994 to September of 1995. In 1 year, I got my master's in TESOL, that is teaching English as a second language. And then after that, I was fully certified to become an English as a second language teacher in the United States, K-12 permanent certification. So that's been the experience in terms of that process.
Thank you so much, Dr. Agoda. If you're just joining us tonight, we got with us Dr. Komi Agoda, an immigrant that came to the U.S. and is a veteran, 33-year veteran in the education sector in New York City. If you have a comment, drop us a comment. If you have a question, don't hesitate. Go ahead and drop your question. Dr. Agoda, I know you talk about the experience in junior high. I know I'll be going to my colleague shortly. But this issue of accent, where we speak and people try to mock at us or maybe laugh at us. But yet still you look at our other brothers next door from here in Mexico who don't even speak English well, but they don't mock them. What was your experience like in the classroom?
Um, I've not been mocked per se, but every time you speak, people will ask, "You have an accent. Where are you from? We have an accent. Where are you from?" So I mean, it's something you have to live with. You have to deal with. Fortunately for me, I always tell them, I don't care what the accent is. I know English back and forth. I will teach you your own English. I don't care who the hell you are. I have a master's in linguistics. I correct them every time. When they write their memos, it's wrong. I tell them this structure doesn't belong here. This does not, there's no, I mean, there's no respect of the rules over here. This is singular subject. You need a singular verb. And I tell them all that stuff. So I'm not sure whether it's some luck, but because I know the language in theory, it doesn't matter maybe how my accent is. And and by the way, just to reiterate the point, not only do I teach English as a second language, I teach regular English. I teach the Shakespeare, I teach the Chaucers, I teach the regions English. I grade the regions for English for New York State across the board. Every year, I'm selected to go to either the testing centers, whatever it is, for us to grade the regions. So I'm not sure. Maybe it depends on individual cases. And let's be also frank about this. America is an individual country where they might mock a group of people, but selectively they give individuals a pass here and there because they may have to contend with who you are. So when you make your mark, regardless of how they may feel about you, they're forced to reckon with you. So that's been my experience. And maybe to some extent, I would say this: because you have an accent, because they look down on us, they will not elevate you to the position you deserve. And that's part of the bias, discrimination, or should I say, I should say the discrimination in the system, because it is across the board. They do discriminate. It may not be open, but it's there.
It is. It is. That's the system. So
That's a
the
system.
system is corrupt. It's a kind of corrupt system we have. I'd just like to go over to my colleague Ben. Ben, over to you. I know you've been listening and enjoying the conversation.
Definitely. Dr. Agoda,
Yes, sir.
welcome to you, sir, and good to have you on this platform. As I listened to what you were saying, I was just smiling, especially coming down to the area where you talk about the accent, and because of the accent, sometimes people are looked upon because of their accent. But I would like to say that in the United States, from my experience, almost everyone in the United States have an accent, depending on what part of the United States that you live.
Linguistically, that's a fact. We cannot deny that. That's correct.
Good. So what is the reason behind the low expectation from people from Africa that have the accent as compared to people from the United States or different part of the United States that also have the accent? What would you say the main reason behind that?
It's just being biased. There's no justification for it. As you mentioned, I was stated earlier, everybody has an accent. Okay. But the fact that your accent sounds a specific way is what they use against you. So if you sound like an African or a foreigner, that is not, because New Yorkers sound different from Chicagoans or Californians, but they don't discriminate against those distinctions. But they would discriminate against you sounding different because you're maybe of an African descent. So that's pure discrimination, plain and simple. There's nothing to justify that. But that goes on to further explain the differences in immigration policies. The system itself is racist in its discrimination, its immigration policies. They do not want certain people from certain parts of the world coming here. So that's part of why the discrimination is intense or frowned upon when they realize that you're of African descent or you're of a certain ethnic background, so to speak, put in a broader category. That's what I think. I mean,
as you were speaking earlier, based on the questioning from my colleague, you may mention something that has to do with being baptized. It was a hell experience and things like that.
Baptism of fire.
Baptism of fire. Yeah. The fact that you were teaching French in the United States to
inner city kids in Brooklyn.
Okay, in Brooklyn to be specific. And then the kids that you were teaching at the time, they were very challenging. So that became like a hellfire for you.
Correct.
Baptism by fire, as you describe it. Now, my concern there is this. So you originally from Congo, which is a French-speaking
Togo.
Or Togo, sorry. You are originally from Togo, which is a French-speaking country. Why was it so challenging for you to teach French, knowing that you were born in a French-speaking country, you went to school in the French-speaking country, you grew up in a French-speaking country, you got a degree while going to school as a French student? Why was it so difficult for you to teach French in a foreign country?
It's not the content of teaching French that was the challenge.
Okay.
It's the behavior of the students who are not going to sit down and listen to you teach them. I taught in Gabon, I taught in Togo before I taught in the US. When you teach in Africa, I can guarantee any country in Africa, students sit down and wait for a teacher to give them directions. You don't have that over here. Here we're talking about students who are jumping out of the window while you're trying to write on the board. So we're talking about behavior problems. So even the best of them, even good students who can sit down and learn, would challenge you in terms of their behaviors. Somebody's listening to, in those days, maybe a maybe headphones, maybe listen to some radio. At the time, when I was in the junior high school, we didn't have cell phones. I mean, not as rampant as they are today. And so we're talking about behaviors and not in terms of academic challenges. The content of teaching French, I could teach French with my eyes closed. That's not the issue. The issue is about having students who are now willing. How do you motivate students who don't even speak English to learn French? When you say we want to learn how to conjugate, what's conjugate? The word conjugate, even you can't even explain in English. Forget about explaining in French. But in spite of all those challenges, I would tell you one thing. I had a special progress class in the junior high school that I taught from grade 7 through grade 9. And a couple of my students went on to study French. And one of them even became a French teacher, Corey Gates. I don't know where she is right now, but that is the, how do I put it? The gratifying moment of what you achieve when, in spite of looking at the challenges, you're able to get some. Because I'll tell you a little story.
Okay.
In teaching French, the junior high school, I pretended I did not speak English. So the students did not know that I could even speak English. So I had to teach them in French, and I had to speak French. I had to act French. I had to write everything in French in the classroom. Everything was labeled in the classroom. I had a French lab, so to speak, because my classroom was the French classroom. So you come there, everything from the curtains to the blackboard to all the different items were labeled. The closet, the bookshelf, everything was labeled in French. So they actually believed that I did not speak English. So they were forced to speak to me in French. So when you speak to me, I'll have to respond to you in French and pretend that I didn't hear what you said. And some of them there were students who could actually mimic me. They would go to the board and even deliver a lesson in French. That's how I was able to get students to, in other words, to teach a language, you have to immerse yourself in that language. And I was successful in being able to accomplish that.
It is interesting.
In high school today, what I did in junior high school 25 years ago, I couldn't do that in one lousy day in high school. The kids don't want to learn. So it's a whole different issue. So we talk about the behaviors. They are so, and most of them go to these language classes just for the credit. So their goal is, I need my credit to get my degree, my high school diploma, and I'm out of here. So why do you have to worry? You tell them to repeat something after you, they will not even do it. So it's like you pulling out the hair you don't have. So that's part of a challenge.
But Dr. Komi, I'm a little bit curious on the experience or the technique that you use to teach French. The technique.
The technique, okay.
That you use to teach the kids of that level. Pretending to be someone that don't understand English at all. Remember, you are teaching students that don't speak French at all, and English is their primary language.
That's correct. But
you are pretending not to understand what they speak, which is their primary language. Don't you think that was an error that caused some sort of disturbance or misbehavior from kids because they feel that no matter what happened, some of them will just think that they're not going to understand what you're saying because you're not just communicating to them through which they can understand.
No, but it's not about not understanding. It's language is not only words. Language is emotions, communication, body language, everything.
Okay.
It goes beyond words. And I can guarantee you, if you find yourself in France tomorrow and you don't speak any French and everybody around you is speaking French, are you going to survive? What would you do? And nobody can speak English. What are you going to do? You would, after 2-3 days, 1 week, you begin to use one word communications to be able to get your point across. And sooner or later you will survive. The idea is when you immerse in the language, you pick up the language better than, because translation doesn't work. Translation is waiting. We translate only when we know both languages. So you translate at a certain point when you can look at the language from both sides. You cannot start to learn a language, and that's the reason why most foreign languages taught in foreign environments do not succeed. That's a fundamental reason. So you're teaching Spanish, you're teaching German, you're teaching French, you're teaching, I don't care, Italian, and you give them some notions, you give them the topic, you give them the grammar points. That's all you do. You're giving them those points. You're not going to learn the language. So
all right.
That's the whole philosophy behind immersion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Komi. I appreciate your enlightenment in terms of the technique and your philosophy of teaching French to English-speaking students, for that matter. So thank you for that. Now, I want to take a little step back. I know you talk about you being an educator over the years and for 33 years of experience educating, right? Can you tell us a little bit about your family background?
Okay, family background. Currently, I'm married to my beautiful wife since I came to this country. As a matter of fact, we met in '88 to present, so we have 6 daughters, 3 adopted, 3 natural, and 1 son. The son is the youngest of the bunch. He's actually currently in Binghamton University in upstate New York.
Okay.
And he's also studying linguistics. My daughters all over the place. 2 in upstate New York, 1 in Maryland, the adopted ones. The youngest one is home right now, Tamara. She's 23 years. And the one after her is in Brooklyn. She's married over there with a brother from Nigeria, and the eldest adopted daughter is in Atlanta. She also has my grandson over there, and her husband is also from the US, so they're living in Atlanta right now. So basically that's the family dynamics. My wife is psychologist by training. Currently she's home right now because she's been sick for a while now. And yeah, when my daughter Elsie, when she got pregnant, my daughter Elsie, the pregnancy was so overwhelming. She took time out when the child was born and has been home ever since. She works, as a consultant with New York State and New York City, depending on the situation. As a matter of fact, that's the reason why we adopted these 3 daughters, because she was contacted to keep them for a week. So how did this happen? Oh, can you help us with this? There were 4 of us with their brother, Lansine. Can you keep these kids for a week for us? And we're going to find someone to place them. From 1 weekend turned to 1 week to 1 month, and adoption down the road because they couldn't take them out of the house to place them elsewhere because, you have the facility, you can keep them together. If you take them now, we have to separate them. We have to put them in different places. They seem to be adjusting well with you. So they convinced us to keep them. and it's been a whole different experience and a lifetime one. For better, for worse, that's what we've been dealt with, and we're living with it. And we cannot complain.
Thank you. I appreciate that. People don't know who is Dr. Komi. So it's good to get the different angles of Dr. Komi. You being an educator, not only an educator, but you are a family man. And when you talk about being a family man, here you are telling us how you had to go through the process of adopting 3 kids. They are all girls for that matter. So
Yes.
that's the type of person that you are. You are a person that really cares for people, from what I see, from all indications so far. So thank you for the type of services that you provide, both in the educational sector and also family-wise. You must be commended for that. Thank you so much. Back to you, Desolo.
Thank you so much, Ben. If you're just joining us, you have a question, please drop us a question for our guests. And Dr. Cummings, I want to go to the other angle. You not only had the opportunity of teaching in middle school and high school,
Yes.
you are also had the opportunity of teaching in college. So tell us, what learner you into college, and what kind of people have you been teaching in college and mentoring?
As a college professor, I do teach at Turo College. I supervise student teaching, and I teach courses like um, classroom management, curriculum development, as well as the structure of the English language. You're talking about English language, the structure of the language for students who are pursuing their master's degrees in TESOL, teaching English as a second language. Multicultural education was my main focus. So I designed those courses and teach students, and every semester I have to watch them teach, critique, advise them, and help them develop the skills necessary for teaching. Teaching, by definition, I tell everyone, is the most difficult profession there is on the planet. Not only do you need the content for your subject area, you have to have the heart of gold to be an effective teacher. As a teacher, not only do I teach the high school students, my college students, I mentor them, I advise them on what to expect from their charges, from their students, whether it's okay, because we do the student teaching in 2 forms. There's a K to 6, and then the 7 to 12. So you have to do 2 teaching experiences in the elementary level. If you're teaching over there, you have a classroom, it's easier. So I come see you in your classroom where you function every day. If you don't teach over there, then we find some work for you. You work with someone, you go and at least have a day's experience teaching the students. We see how you interact with them. We watch you teach. We take out, we do the feedback and give you some pointers on how to improve what you're supposed to do. The key to good teaching is not only the content, but also the passion you have for the subject, or even working with the kids. If you don't have that passion, I don't know how, it doesn't matter how good you are, because there are people who know the subject, the content, but cannot deliver because they're not willing to be compassionate towards, like I tell my graduate students, because we're supposed to observe you and watch you teach and then critique you, which means I have a lot of power in terms of deciding who gets certification, who doesn't. But guess what I tell them? I said, that power is not mine to discriminate against who is going to do well, who's not going to do well. I don't decide that. If you tell me you want to be a teacher, I'll give you a chance to become a teacher. In other words, I'll give you a chance to get a certification and go and prove yourself before those children. The proof is in the pudding, I say. It's not about me telling you that, oh, you are a good teacher because I observe you teach 4 times, it means you're very good. That doesn't mean much, because your career is not going to be determined by those 4 occasions. You're going to be teaching people when the door is closed behind you. Nobody's going to be there. You're there with the children by yourself. So I don't see how my determination of how good you do during the practice is supposed to determine how good you're going to be for the rest of your career.
Yes, Doc.
So
I
I
think,
tell my students,
yeah.
you tell me you want to teach, I'll give you that opportunity and I'll make sure it happens.
Correct. But you also said that teaching is one of the hardest career on this earth. You have to have the heart of a goal.
Yes,
Why did you remain in the classroom, continue to teach? Even if you have other opportunity, you are going to other sectors. There are
absolutely.
people who are writers. You could have been sitting down there editing books, making money, publishing companies. Why did you stay in the classroom up to this time?
Well, I would say sometimes we follow our calling without even knowing it. And this takes me two or three steps back. I became a teacher by accident. Why? Because I did not plan when I was in college I was going to be a teacher. It was never my intention nor my goal. You remember I told you when I was here in '86, a letter was sent from Gabon, said, "Oh, you have a contract, go teach." When I went to teach in Gabon, my first teaching assignment, which was the official one, because my 1 year in Togo was not official. I was not hired. I was just, let's say, freelancing here and there. I had an exam class, 26 students, and the exam I gave them at the end of the school year. This is the kicker of all. That was the same text that came in their national exam for their certificate. So all my students passed. 25 out of 26 scored excellent. And people were like, "Oh, Mr. Agoda, you're such a genius. How did you do this?" I didn't do anything. It was just coincidence. The text I just picked happened to be selected by the national committee. How it happened, I don't know. It just happened to be the luck of the draw. But people figured that, oh, he's so good. And believe it or not, it had some impact on me too. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, I just picked it from, I didn't even know why I picked it. It was just, oh, this is a good text to give them for the exam. I didn't make the text up. It was in the book. I just selected it. And it was the same text they selected for them. So my students did well. That became that more like a turning point. When I started teaching over here, as much as I had the difficulty in some of the behaviors that I was experiencing with the students. And I have another story besides that, because in the junior high school, before I left there, I had an incident. A student physically attacked me, a girl who intruded in my class, physically aggressed me, and I had to leave the building that day, go to the hospital and all that stuff. Long story short, I was like, you got to be kidding me. A student from nowhere will come in. The security, everybody was like incredible. I mean, I had to hold myself in order not to hit back at the student. I did not react, because reacting to hit the student is not going to solve a problem. It's only going to make the situation worse for you. Now you have to defend yourself for hitting a student who attacked you. So regardless of how wrong the student is, you as an adult cannot. So I realized at that point that there was something in me that I could not even explain. I couldn't even imagine saying that the student hit me and I did not hit back. But that's part of the mastery of oneself, that discipline you can have to not hit, because physical violence or physical hitting is not showing strength. Strength is internal, it's not physical. So once I was able to do that, at that point, I knew that there was something special in me. Nobody would tell me that. I could tell that for myself. And as much as teaching is difficult, there's some joy in knowing that you are imparting knowledge. And even though I say it's a difficult thing, I consider myself an exceptional teacher. I would say that even, for myself, because there are very few teachers who can do what I do. I can teach multiple subjects. I mean, in high school, we're talking about, I didn't want to be a teacher, but I was focused on the sciences. So even till today, I can coach my students. They come with their math problems. I help them solve the math problem. They're like, oh, you're English. How do you know this math? I said, don't worry about that. Yes, this is what you got to do. So, and I read a little extensively. So, little trivial facts, history, geography. Forget about history, geography, my son is also a geography buff. He knows all the countries in the world and all their capitals. I mean, those little things. So little trivia questions, you use those things to incentivize how your students learn. And I derive pleasure in doing what I do, in spite of the fact that it's difficult. And at the graduate level or at the college level, it's a whole different ball game. You get to talk to students in a laid-back fashion, guide them, and through experiences, impart some knowledge to them. There couldn't be much greater impact in life than education. There's nothing close to that. Teachers make every other profession, whether they are doctors, lawyers, name it, other educators, accountants, name it. We teach everyone. And a good teacher is invaluable in life.
Thank you so much. Dr. Agoda is our guest tonight. We're talking about his joining from Togo to the US and how he been in the education sector for 33 years and also mentoring other teachers who are going to the classroom to teach. Then,
It is a valuable thing to become a teacher. Though it might be difficult, just as Dr. Komi said, but it is a valuable thing to be a teacher because you are impacting knowledge in the lives of so many people.
Absolutely.
Helping to change them in the right direction,
Right.
helping to brighten their future
Yes.
with the help of God. So it is a calling, just as you said. It is a calling. And if you are called to do that, as difficult as it might be,
Yes.
you will stay persevere. You will keep making that difference in the life of people that come across you. Dr. Komi,
Yes.
in your earlier statement, you talk about having to do some camping activities in the United States.
Yes.
In fact, it is through the camping activities you were able to eventually stay in the United States through YMCA.
Correct.
I lived in upstate New York for years, and I used to go to a summer camp in Massachusetts as a summer counselor. So when you talk about that, I relate a little bit with your experience in terms of being a summer camp counselor. Now, Dr. Komi, I want you to throw a little light on your experience as a summer camp counselor. What was the impact that it had on you coming from Africa? What was the impact that it had on you that propelled you to be who you are today?
Oh, huge. As a matter of fact, that experience was the beginning of this journey, as a matter of fact. So at the camp, which is still over here on Staten Island, Camp Ouch, we did activities like arts and crafts, soccer, all the sports like tug of war, basketball, name it. I mean, all the little activities. And as a general counselor, when I came, and because I was able to do a little bit of every sport, even the sports I did not know, I learned to play baseball and softball in camp. That was my beginning of even knowing what the sports, I mean, of baseball and baseball and softball were in the American cultural environment. So I started to learn it from the kids. So the kids taught me, I mean, baseball and softball. And then we had kickball, which is similar to baseball stuff because you kick it and you just run the bases. And swimming, I know how to swim. So I was able to help them in the swimming activities. So just those things we took for granted that, oh, this is no big deal. But when I came here, they were like revered. They were like, oh, you can do this. Then we go hiking. And in talking to the little kids, because we had kids 5 to 7, 8 to 10, and then 12. I think 10 to 12 was the last group because the 13-year-olds were considered CITs, counselors in training. We were working with the other younger ones.
Yeah.
And kids will ask you questions like, oh, in Africa, do you have sneakers? Where did you get these sneakers from Africa? There were those little trivial questions, which We're like, you got to be kidding me. But that was the beginning of knowing that. Let me tell you, before coming to America, I thought that there was no sand or ground or earth in America, because imagine what you see in the movies over there. When I came here, we went to camp, I said, this is the same bush we have back home. This is the same, trees and stuff like that. So it was very humbling to know that the world that God created is the same across the whole planet, except that the seasons change, and what happens in Africa is not what happens over here in terms of the snow and the rain and the weather and stuff like that. It gets cold. My first experience of winter over here was in October, which was not winter. It was just getting breezy, and I was freezing to death. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Today, I prefer the cold to the warm weather. When I go back home, it's like too hot for me. So I would not say that camp experience, as minor as it seems, is something minor. Every experience in life is life altering. It's an experience that when you have a chance to experience, you have to cherish. Because I'm sitting here, thanks to that experience. Now, my camp director, who brought me to US in 1985, we still keep in touch. We're still in constant communication till today. When I got my doctorate degree in Florida, University of Sarasota, she was at the graduation. She drove from Staten Island all the way to Florida just to participate. It's not something I can just even begin to explain. It's incredible. It's a wonderful, warm feeling beyond. We have a relationship of a lifetime.
Great. A relationship of a lifetime.
Yes.
Being a camp counselor, and that's what drove you to be who you are today. That's part of your story. As you know, this show is a show that we have, is a program that we have to be able to share your life-changing experiences. And through your camping activities, your life has changed in so many ways, in so many directions. Because as you said, those trivial things, those questions that they were asking you had an impact on you. When you look back today and begin to recount where you came from and how God brought you this far, you begin to thank God for who He is.
Absolutely.
Dr. Komi, what would be your advice as we come to the end of this program, or almost to the end of this program? What is your advice for people that come from where we came from originally, Africa for that matter, coming to the Western world, coming to the US in particular? What would be your advice to those that want to go into the educational sector based on your experience?
My advice is very simple. If you have the passion to do this, go for it. We use the word passion. Oftentimes people don't even know what it means. They just maybe use it. But the passion means that there's an inner driving force, because you are not going to get money from teaching. You are not going to get money from becoming an educator. But if that is your calling, if that is your passion, then you will get the satisfaction that you deserve. And that satisfaction is going to compensate the money you don't have. I feel blessed. I can guarantee that I am fortunate. My wife has supported me. I couldn't be more grateful for being fortunate to have met this lady who has been my lifetime supporter and partner and everything. Because, and guess what? Just to go a step back, she was also at the YMCA. She was my director at the YMCA when I went. That was exactly where I went to work in that program, and then we ended up becoming husband and wife.
So wait a minute, did you guys start counseling each other at the YMCA?
Maybe, I'm not sure. Well, she was the counselor, as a matter of fact, because that's the whole point. She was a counselor over there, counseling people, I mean, for all their family issues and the drug addiction and everything. And then, well, ours was a different type of counseling. So that's how that happened. And so, yes, I mean, advice, long story is that if you want to go into education, if you have an expertise, and that's what most people don't realize, if you have one expertise that you can share, by all means, stick to it, take it and run, and do the best you can, and stay honest to yourself. Honesty is not to anybody else, but to yourself. When people say, oh, I mean, don't bother with teaching, I mean, the kids are misbehaving, that's not the point. If you want to teach, and that's your passion, go for it. You get the satisfaction that nobody else would see, but you would see it. Because life is not about money all the time. Of course, we need money to survive. And that's part of what we need to do to compensate teachers better so that they would not struggle too much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Komi. It was an honor listening to you and to share this platform with you this day. I really appreciate you taking the opportunity to be with us. I know time is fast spent, and I'm out of my time already, so I want to throw this over to my colleague, Balo Fasa.
Thank you so much, man. Dr. Komi,
Yes,
after
sir.
33 years of service with DOE, when will you retire?
When
And
will I retire?
What next?
Or when will I retire? I'm retiring at the end of next month. February 28th is my official date of retirement, and I am running for Congress to represent District 11, Staten Island, and Southern Brooklyn. That's my next phase in life. That's a goal we have set for ourselves. That is the platform we want to create in order to share the American dream with our fellow immigrants and African brothers, and represent all the constituents of Staten Island and Southern Brooklyn.
Then I think this have to be another discussion for another day, because that's a bigger picture. It's not just retiring, but it's like taking another step further, having another big agenda you want to follow to represent District 11 at Congress. It's a huge, huge responsibility. Dr. Cummings, if I may ask, how did you derive at that decision after you took 33 years in the classroom? Why do you want to go to Congress?
Well, let's put it this way.
Just a minute. Maybe you could retire, get your money, take a vacation with your wife, and have fun. Go to the Bahamas,
Absolutely.
go to Florida, go
Yes.
to the Poconos, go play all the casinos. Why you want to take up another job?
I want to take up that responsibility in order to help other people, my brothers, my sisters. They say, to whom much is given, much is expected. I feel blessed. And to retire and just sit in the sunset, I don't think is the calling that God gave me. This was laid on my heart that if you can make a difference in other people's lives, that is a greater calling. Maybe teaching was very honorable and noble. Maybe this will be even much nobler. And that's why I want to take on this challenge.
I think we have to come back here and talk about that another day. Why you want to do this challenge, you told us already. And what impact can you make if you succeed? And how are you going to make this challenge a success? We just want to have your parting comments for tonight. Ben Ragley said, thank you so much for your time, accepting our invitation to be here, to let the people know your contribution to the educational sector, how passionate you were about the whole process. And now you're about to retire. You want to take up another journey, which we hope we can have another time with you another time to have that discussion in detail. What will be your parting comment tonight, Dr. Cummings?
Thank you for having me on this forum. I really appreciate the time. Thank you for the good job you're doing, because I think the forum itself, even though it's my first time talking with you guys, I really enjoyed it. And I look forward to more of these discussions so that we could continue to share the discussion and make our ideas and advice and encouragement known across the world.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cummings, and we want to say thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And to many of those who follow us tonight, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back here on Sunday, same time, 6 o'clock. On behalf of Ben, Levi behind the scene, just want to say have a good night from our end.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
Lord, you are the most. Hallowed be thy name. Lord, you are the most. Hallowed be thy name. Lord, you are the most. Hallowed be thy name. Lord, you are the most. Hallowed be thy name.
You tell me, say, make I know that everything's gonna be okay. You are